You know we gotta do it, folks. This is exactly the territory that we explored years ago on this YouTube channel, where prospect talk and draft coverage was a lot more prevalent than it is today. Yeah, the 24-25 season, when all my teams stopped being competitive in the draft lottery, that's when the draft-related content really started to bring itself down. But ultimately, we still have some prospects that are noteworthy on the teams that I cheer for, and prospects that are really interesting to take a look at 1 year after they were selected at the 2024 draft. Today, we are re-kicking off the 1 year later series, and talking about not the main Montreal Canadiens guy taken in 2024. Nah, we're gonna save Ivan Demidov for another conversation. Today, we are talking about Michael Hage. And I wanted to say this at the beginning here too. I know 1 year later hasn't really been too hot of a video series over the past few years. I think a lot of that enthusiasm has to do with the fact that my Vancouver Canucks didn't really grab too many first-round guys or players that are worth talking about 1 year later since the few years ago that they took Willander and Lekaramaki. So yeah, it's kind of tough here in the Vancouver fan base point of view, but I'm also a Habs fan, so it works out just well. Let's talk today about Michael Hage, dive into the profile, talk about where he was last year, talk about where he has gone since then, and how his story has come to be as a member of the Montreal Canadiens. Michael Hage is 19 years old, 6'1", a 190-pound right-handed center who was drafted by the Habs in the 21st overall spot in the 2024 draft. He was ranked to go roughly in this area. I mean, McKean's had him at 12. Craig Button had him at 21, ISS 17, but there were some other scouting outlets like Future Considerations that had Hage as the 29th overall pick. He also was the 10th overall North American skater as ranked by NHL Central Scouting, so that's like right in the 16, 17, 18-ish range of the draft if you wanted to put it out like that. Michael Hage went roughly where it was that he was supposed to go. And as a player drafted out of the USHL with 75 points in 54 games as a center, there was a lot of skill that Hage brought to the game. He was big, he was lanky, he was able to get around guys. His scouting report on the Elite Prospects Draft Guide said that Hage was a dynamic rush attacker, combining inside drives, flashy dekes, and give-and-go playmaking. A crossover burst gets defenders' feet moving, then he looks for vulnerabilities. He fakes wide, cuts in, and accelerates to the net. If you checked out the Elite Prospects Draft Guide itself, they wrote that Michael Hage had shades of Morgan Frost and Robert Thomas in his overall profile. Which, I'm not gonna go out there and say that anybody is gonna be the next anybody, but if you're drafting the next Robert Thomas, you're probably drafting a really good player. Just saying. Hage's production already in the USHL was seen as a very big plus. If you exclude the US NTDP guys, you could say that Michael Hage and his production was in the same territory as other players over the past few years, like Kyle Connor, Adam Fantilli, Brock Boeser. Okay, some of these guys were in their draft minus 1 years. Kyle Connor and Adam Fantilli were late birth dates, which is why their draft seasons were actually the year after the ones that are listed here. Brock Boeser, however, hey, he was also draft eligible in 14-15, so Michael Hage did outproduce Brock Boeser. And I think it's a very reasonable thing to say that Boeser has been a fine NHL player. So there you go, there's some pretty good company there. Ultimately, as a guy who was a Habs fan growing up, and we saw this entire emotional video that was played, they did the entire presentation at the Sphere last year when Hage was drafted, but his late father, his family, there was such an emotional story of Michael Hage getting drafted by the Habs, which, of course, is just so amazing. You want to see things like that. You want to get these emotions churned up because it makes you cheer for the guy even more. And cheer is what we did as Michael Hage suited up with the University of Michigan Wolverines as a freshman in 2024-25, and in a season where he had posted up a 34-point in 33-game campaign. Michael Hage was over a point per game for the Wolverines at 18 years old. And he was going out there with a whole bunch of awards too. He was named the NCAA Big Ten's Rookie of the Year, and he also made the All-Rookie team. If you wanted to check it out, here are some of the other players that have won the Rookie of the Year in the Big Ten. Trent Frederick, Cole Caulfield, Luke Hughes, Adam Fantilli, Artyom Levshunov, Dylan Larkin, Kyle Connor, a whole bunch of interesting names, most of whom have had NHL success. I think the only guy here who wasn't really like a full-time NHL dude, or, you know, we're going to exclude the younger guys like Borderlow and Jakub Dobish. They're a little bit younger there. Sammy Walker, Mitch Landowski, maybe not the most projectable NHL names at the moment, but they're still a part of this list with some very good NHL talent. Michael Hage displayed such a high level of adaptability to the NCAA. And it wasn't long where we started to see a lot of those offensive skills and stringing together of dynamic maneuvers to actually put together a really good resume of NCAA production. I mean, this guy was going out there and moving, he was flowing, the way that he would dangle by players and deke by goalies, it was almost like Jack Eichel-esque. Like, if you weren't looking at the player, you weren't looking at the colors on the jerseys, you weren't looking at the helmet colors or anything, if you just looked at the silhouette, Michael Hage kind of moves like Jack Eichel. The way he 1-2 steps into a glide, the way that he holds his stick and the puck in front of him, the way he dangles left to right to left to right, it feels a lot like the Vegas Golden Knights franchise-altering superstar that is Eichel. And I'm not saying that Hage is going to be the next Eichel. I'm not saying that he's going to be a 100-point guy. But I am saying that Jack Eichel does sort of exist in that silhouette if you're looking out for it. And I don't know, maybe that's like a very minute thing to say, but I do think that Hage and the way that he's progressed this recent season in college has been so extraordinary that now, I mean, look, we're talking about Montreal Canadiens guys taken at the end of the first round. Philip Machar, not looking all too great. Owen Beck started the second round a few years ago, he's looking fine. Michael Hage? Yeah, that guy looks like he could be that steal of a center and a player that by the time 2028 rolls around, 2030, whatever, maybe he could be seen as a player who was taken a lot lower than he should have been at the 2024 NHL Entry Draft. Long term for Hage, if he becomes the second-line center behind Nick Suzuki, you are obviously laughing at that. Like, you are so happy, you are over the moon, ecstatic that you were able to get a top 6 center with the 21st overall pick in 2024. Of course, it's not guaranteed that he reaches those highs, but the fact that it's not impossible at this point says a lot. I think at the very least, you're looking at a second power play, third line scoring type of guy down the middle who will have that heart and soul connection with the Montreal Canadiens and whom we can all cheer for because of his work ethic and his desire to be a part of this franchise. So 1 year later, Michael Hage, this is a guy who, out of the USHL and the Chicago Steel, is proving to be a potential steal himself for the Montreal Canadiens, and a guy that we should all be paying attention to for the next year and beyond. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about Michael Hage and his entire profile. I hope you enjoyed this video. Sign on, and bye.